Hey guys, and today I want to talk to you about the biggest pandemic of our time, not just in Brazil, but in the whole world, which is the absence of a father figure in your home. The other day, I joked that when a father is absent and has a daughter, she becomes a slut, an OnlyFans fan, promiscuous. Oh, and when a father is absent and has a son, he either becomes a criminal or he becomes gay, okay? Of course, there are exceptions, but this theory is very acceptable nowadays. And I'm putting this theory out there so that you, the day you become a father, understand that there will be consequences. Okay? The other day, I was talking to a friend who has a huge rejection of his son, and I couldn't understand why he rejected him. And then after talking a lot, I understood a trend, guys. Look at the trend, okay? The trend is this. This friend of mine and many other cases of paternal abandonment have to do with one simple thing, okay? One simple thing. And you're going to be thinking, what simple thing is this? Because, it doesn't make sense for you as a man to abandon your offspring. Because your natural instinct, your Neanderthal instinct, your masculine instinct, flips a switch in your head for you to automatically provide and protect, okay? But there is this exception. The exception is if you get a prostitute pregnant, when you find out either before or after that the person you got pregnant is a prostitute, like a prostitute who actually gets paid, you're going to reject the child just like you reject the child's mother. Understand? So, after I delved into this information, a lot of things started to make sense, things we see around us. Society always criticizes and fights against the absent father, but they've never discovered the root of the absent father rejecting the child, and it has to do with this. When a guy feels internal shame and social shame for having gotten a prostitute pregnant and for having a son of a bitch, his instinct, he kind of has an instinct to run away, to not want to get involved, and that became even clearer. I don't know if you followed Anthony Richardson here in the United States, but Anthony from the Minnesota Timberwolves, he got a woman pregnant on OnlyFans, which, everyone knows OnlyFans is digital prostitution, remote prostitution, in-person prostitution. It's all prostitution. So, Anthony, I always forget his last name, Anthony Richardson is the quarterback. Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves. He got a woman pregnant. He rejected the woman. He rejected the child. And not only did he reject the child, he paid 18 years of child support. In advance, paid upfront, like the cash flow of 18 years of child support. He deposited it directly into the woman's account so that he has no connection with her or the child. So he paid, I don't know how many millions to, in quotes, have peace and get rid of the burden of having a child with a prostitute. You understand? So, this issue of paternal absence doesn't stop at just paternal absence. You have to dig deeper and understand the man's reasons because, I swear to you, a man might not like his ex-girlfriend, his wife, but he'll be there for the child. He'll deposit money. Even if it's just $50, he'll be there to show, I'm your father. He'll pay child support. He'll see them once a week, once a month, but he'll be there. He'll make an effort to say, I'm your father. The guy who runs away, he only runs away when she's a prostitute. Period. A guy only runs away when she's a prostitute. What is the social consequence of what I just explained? The social consequence of what I just explained is a society where the paternal figure is increasingly diminished because of Hollywood media, Netflix series, songs that say being bitch is cool, being a criminal is cool, and having sex and disappearing is cool. It's not cool. But what happens? This creates new generations of prostitutes. And what happens if we produce yet another new generation of prostitutes? There will be more and more absent fathers. Simple. And it's a vicious cycle that perpetuates itself in exactly this way. And then I remembered other examples, which were soccer players. It's impressive how soccer players, they end up marrying prostitutes. They end up getting prostitutes pregnant. There are many, but it makes sense. Normal people find their spouses at school, in high school, in college, through friends, or in church. Now let's put the soccer player into this matrix. The work environment doesn't work because there are only men there, okay? Unless he sleeps with the physiotherapist, but that's very rare. Usually, team physiotherapists are men precisely to avoid that, so you can't meet your spouse at work. Your work environment is very masculine, and you're traveling all the time. You're not going to meet your spouse there. 2. Soccer players don't have friends, except for childhood friends, but they usually end up leaving their childhood friends behind. Your teammate in the locker room, deep down, isn't your friend because he's fighting for a higher salary, just like you. And if he has a contract renewal, you don't because salary money is finite, okay? And clubs prefer to bring in a player from outside rather than give a raise to a player from within. That's very normal. So, there's no such thing as true friendship in a football team. So, the fact that you met your spouse through friends also takes that out of the equation. That leaves two. You're left with meeting them in high school, but football players don't go to high school, much less college. This is in Brazil, okay? And what happens then? He becomes a target for women who approach him. And if you stop to think about it, a normal woman won't approach a man. A beautiful, attractive woman, a family woman, won't approach a man because she's too feminine to approach a man. What kind of woman approaches a man in the infirmary or on the street? A prostitute? A prostitute. Understand? And the other day, I went to the club to do a social experiment. I even recorded it. Yeah, it really was a social experiment. I recorded a series of videos about it, okay? No, it's not that story about a friend of mine. I went with my friends, but we went to film and document and do this social experiment. Man, it's unhealthy how you have to keep rejecting women. Because I went there, I didn't want to go upstairs with anyone. No, I'm disgusted by prostitutes. I didn't want to go upstairs with anyone, so I had to keep rejecting women every 30 seconds. Yeah, and it's incredibly annoying. These women are used to approaching men and getting rejected by men. They do this in person and in Instagram DMs. And the player, because he can't circulate in the streets and maximize the chance of serendipity, which is like you're in the right place at the right time, your eyes meet, you fall in love at first sight, that doesn't happen with a football player because he doesn't circulate, okay? He can't just walk around like that on the street, so the chances of him meeting someone are lower. What ends up happening? He meets someone in a brothel or on Instagram DMs. And the people and women who send him Instagram DMs, shooting their way in, usually have that background, you know? And then you see, especially the football players of this generation, they have this tendency to divorce quickly and abandon their children. I'm not going to name names, so you can already picture in your head some examples of players where this happened. So, what I brought to the table here is something from sociology, from psychology, that nobody ever understood. I mean, stopped to analyze what makes a man abandon his offspring when our genetics do exactly the opposite. You want to make sure, you want to guarantee that your son, your daughter, will have the best conditions in the world. Even if you hate the child's mother, you'll be there paying child support. You'll be there fighting for custody of that child. But there are cases of those who don't fight for custody, don't pay child support, like they just disappear. And it has to do with that. Prostitutes, and it ends up being a hereditary curse. So guys, I want to know, I'm sure you all know of a similar case. Today I'm going to leave the comments open. I'm going to read everyone's comment because, man, this is a very heavy topic, one that I've never seen anyone covering on the internet. But human interaction nowadays is leading to a next generation full of children of prostitutes. Why? Because, men, look, now, let's paint the whole picture. Women don't want the average guy, they want the badass guy. The badass guy doesn't approach women because there are too many demand, too many people, too many women for him to choose from. So, the badass guy won't approach women. Because he doesn't approach women, he'll have his needs to sleep with someone. He'll sleep with what's easy. What's easy are the women in his Instagram DMs, okay? The women who hit on him, women who approach men, okay? Eating what's easy, and then he ends up getting one of those women pregnant. And the probability of him rejecting the child is higher. Okay, man. Part of my social experiment at the Escándalo nightclub, which used to be the best brothel in São Paulo. Yeah. Every prostitute has a child, isn't that strange? Every prostitute has a child at home to support and doesn't receive child support from the father. It's impressive how much rejection there is from the father, but every prostitute has a child. Once she's over 24 or 25, she's had a child in her life. Another detail. The good women, and I'll say good women, the example I always give, the women who studied with me, family women, extremely intelligent. None of them had children. So we're entering a scenario where, because of feminism, working like a man, using contraception, the good women don't have children, the bad women end up having children. And if you're the son of a bad woman, you end up being a bad person and fall into that hereditary curse I mentioned earlier. Today's topic is heavy, isn't it? But I hope you understood what leads a man to reject a child. Again, I'm not condoning it. I'm just explaining. I'm not justifying men who reject their children. Man, I stopped to reflect on what my friend who told his story did, and I thought, no, it's not possible. And then I delved into the information, and with empathy, I understood his side. Okay? So, leave a comment here if you have anything to add to this phenomenon that we're in a generation where only prostitutes have children. Good women, they don't approach men, they don't want the average man. So, they stay single, use birth control, and when they find a nice boyfriend, they've used so much birth control that they can't get pregnant, and they take it all out on work and get into this vicious cycle. That's it, guys. I'll stop the video here. A big hug to everyone.